We see a lot of customers coming in that will get cash out to invest in Bitcoin. They'll actually have to take it to a machine here locally, or they'll be told that they owe the IRS for some penalty or back taxes or whatever, or even that they have like a warrant out for their arrest. And they'll even come up with the local phone number. Well, a lot of times it's going to be the teller that sees it firsthand, and it's just sometimes the customer will ask, for something out of the ordinary. Their behavior is different or whatever. If they feel like that they are being scammed, they'll normally get like a supervisor, and it's best if we can take the customer and remove them and like take them to a room. That gives them time to kind of just like pause, because a lot of times the scams, they want to do things quickly. So if we give the customer time just to chill and be calm and just give them time to think about it, then that helps us out. So by taking them to an office or to a desk or whatever, and then we can just do more of a personal conversation with them and talk to them. We also do, we'll put an alert on their account, and then we typically then will now call APS. I think a lot of times they'll come in and they will be either scared or embarrassed, or they have just really believed whatever this person has told them, because sometimes the perpetrator is build up a relationship with them, or there are some times where they've just said the right thing to the customer that they believe them, and then that's our barrier, is to gain their trust, because they've already been told that not to trust the bank, and they'll even like set up where they tell them what to say to us. They will prompt them to, they know that we're going to ask them questions. Because just like when they come in, we're like the first person that they come in contact with, and we may have said the same things that APS will come in and say, but I think then once they hear it from an agency, there are customers that are leery or taken back by this, and I think sometimes when we feel that way, we'll just call and alert APS of it. But we have had where they've come in and just introduce them as our friend, and that they're here to help them. Yeah. And that APS can give them the tools and the resources to help them. They're going to be persistent, and once they leave the bank, they're still going to get these calls from these customers, and we can only do so much. But once they build up a relationship with APS, this helps build the confidence back up in the customer. I think sometimes that can be intimidating. They might feel like they're in trouble, or that they've done something wrong. But I think we have this. We can disclose that, but I think that this is a softer way of approaching it, so that they don't feel threatened, and they don't feel that they've done something wrong, that they're in trouble. A lot of these elderly people feel like if they get caught doing this, or they've made this mistake, that things are going to be taken away from them, because they've made a bad choice. Well, the first time that I had to call them, I was lucky enough to get a hold of Luke, and I was able to keep the customer there. And then he came in, and I just introduced him as a friend of mine, because I didn't want her to feel like I tattled on her. And so we just chit-chatted and explained what had gone on. And then I just said, hey, I think he'll be able to help you, to handle this situation. And he was able to help her maybe get a new phone number, because a lot of times these scammers will just, they're so persistent. I mean, I think while we were there, um, the scammer actually called multiple times, and then Luke did get on the phone with the scammer, and he helped block that number. He called back from a different phone number, and a lot of times when you hear them on the other line, um, they're not mean, but they are very persistent, um, and it can be scary, you know. So I've had another one where she was not happy that I called, um, but I think a lot of times it's just good to help us tellers and us bankers um, have that backup. You know, even if it doesn't work, it's still nice to have somebody come in and kind of like be the softer side of like, hey, we see this happening, but we have help for you, you know? Yeah. I think it would be great, yes, if we could maybe get some more in Pickerington, because I know that we have had at our branch in Pickerington some actually mules that have come in, and we've had to just call the police. But maybe to have APS, you know, reach out to the actual victim or the customers that the account was being used for, that would be nice. But it would be really great if we could get like a circuit or something with other banks to where we could all alert each other, because a lot of times what happens is when the customer comes in, if they don't get what they want at our office, they'll go to the other office. If they don't get it there, then they start moving their money to another bank. We did have an instance where we had a lady come in and she wasn't happy with, you know, what we had told her, so she removed a lot of her money and took it to another bank. And if we could, you know, all be on the same page, or like I said, have a circuit or something to where we could be alerted, you know, that, you know, we're not tattling, we're just trying to help them, you know, to outsmart the scammers at this point.